Tonight, besides having all of our tourist or religious school kids here, we're celebrating. Oh, I forget. We're celebrating, not the right word. Tonight is Refugee Shabbat 2022. This is the fourth year that HIAS, which stands for Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, has done the Refugee Shabbat. And so tonight we join thousands of individuals and hundreds of congregations to raise awareness, celebrate successes, and recognize the powerful work that is being done across the world to create communities of welcome for refugees and asylum seekers, despite the challenges. This last year is said to be one for the history books in regards to the refugee crisis, with the massive global effort to evacuate and find safe homes for Afghans at risk, and seeing people whose lives are in danger being turned away along the US-Mexico border, the English Channel, and across the Mediterranean Sea. Refugee Shabbat is always bittersweet occasion, learning about those who have been displaced, but also celebrating what our communities have done for them. This year, the sweetness of what we have been able to do for thousands of Afghans will be weighed against the devastation that we are seeing in Ukraine, and the millions of people HIAS and its partners are poised to help. Just a little intro. So now if you'll turn to page 10. For Hine Matov. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Akim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Akim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. La 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 la. Hine Matov, Hine Matov. La 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 la. Hine Matovu Manai Shevet Akim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manai Shevet Akim Gam Yachad. Okay. So now if you'll turn to page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. So, girls, you're gonna all come up for the candles, remember? The candle blessing? Come on up around the table. Right here, right here, right here. We're going to go right here. Here. Do you want to come? No? Doesn't want to come. Okay. That's all right. He's okay. There you go. Okay, don't touch the fire though, okay? Okay. What do we do? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu v'hadlikner shel Shabbat. All right, everyone can go back to your seats. Thank you. Okay. So we're ready for our Kiddush. Or you want me to read that first? I just have that little short reading and Kiddush. Yes. I guess I should have left all the kids here. Okay, come on back up, kids, for your... Are you doing all of them? 5. Okay. Right here by the... No, right here. It's herding cats. Okay. I have just a really short reading. So you can Yeah, hold your cups, and I'll hold mine. Recalling our exodus from Egypt, the Torah tells us, "You know the soul of the stranger." While our responsibility to protect the rights of refugees and asylum seekers does not come from our experience in Egypt, that experience does amplify our obligation to welcome them. And so we lift our cups, remembering our ancestors' exodus from Egypt and welcoming the stranger into our communities today. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Amen. Okay, drink your juice. Ooh, that Mogan David. Okay. If you'll turn to page 6, we'll read towards the bottom, "May the door responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. Okay. So Amelia has a little reading for us.
Sometimes people must leave their homes because of things like natural disasters, war, or because it is unsafe. People who are forced to leave their homes behind in search of a place to live are called refugees. There are 36 times when the Torah commands just treatment of a stranger, including this from Leviticus 19:33 through 34. When a stranger comes to live in your land, do not mistreat him. Treat the stranger the way you would treat your native born. Love him as yourself, for you were strangers in Egypt. I am your Lord, your God.
Give you little covers to protect the mic for the next reader. This brings us to the part of our service, Lapado D, which begins on page 21. And our minhag at Congregation Saxophone is we sing the first 2 verses, and then we rise and face the back to welcome the Sabbath bride, and then turn back to the front. Okay, so beginning on page, sadly our pianist isn't here tonight, so you're going to have to bear with me as we sing this together. Those of you who have beautiful voices, sing loud.
Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala.
B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor v'debor echad.
we're on page 26 for the Hatzikadosh. Yitkadav Yikadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yamal Devra Kirute, V'yam Lichmohute, B'chayehon U'v'yomechon, U'chayeh Kol Beit Yisrael, B'agalau V'zman Kari V'yemeru. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorak, Le'olam Ol Mehomaya, Yitbarak, Yitbarak V'yishtabak, V'yipar Brit Mamam V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar V'yithale V'yithalal, Shemei Kudashah Brihu, Le'elo Min Kol Birkata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nekemata, Dami Ram Yama, V'meru Amen. And now we have a reading by Ava and Hannah, and the title of it is, it's an excerpt, from the poem Home by Warson Scherer.
No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well.
Your neighbor's running faster than you. The boy you went to school with running. You only leave home when home won't let you stay.
You have to understand, no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land.
Who would choose to spend days and nights at the stomach of a truck, unless the miles traveled meant something more than a journey?
No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be pitied. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. And no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore.
Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothing behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans.
No one leaves home until home is a scared voice in your ear saying, "Leave, run away now. I know that anywhere is safer than here."
Thank you, girls. Yeah.
We're going to open the ark, and all of us can join around. Right here. And open the ark. Please rise for the Baruchu. You'll find on page 28. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak, Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach, Le'olam Vaed. You may be seated. What we're going to leave the doors open. We'll leave the doors open for the service. Okay, and we can all go back to our seats.
Sorry, I messed that up. We are on page 34 and 36 for the Shema and the Ve'ahavta. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu You're welcome to sing the Ve'ahavta with me if you like. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anokim mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech u'shofbecha uvchumecha u'shartam le'ot al yedecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or rested, let them guide you. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot. Mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
So it's a little poem with the Mika Mocha in the middle by Eldon Salovi. Too many things to remember. Off, on, turn it on. Every journey of liberation crosses the sea, pursued by a vicious past, surrounded by fragile miracles on a steady march to an unknown destination. Every journey of liberation begins at midnight, in the darkest hour of oppression, with the blood of sacrifice, with secret signs and anxious anticipation. Let us sing a song of salvation, a song of absolution, benevolence, and compassion, of deliverance, freedom, and emancipation, of power, rescue, and release, of the might and the mercy of our Maker, of God's generosity and grace. Mika Mocha Bailim Adonai, Mika Mocha Nedar Kodesh, No Ratahilot Ose Fele. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Let every journey of liberation end on the opposite shore, exhausted but jubilant, on the edge of an undiscovered land, with shouts of joy and delight when our struggle leads to redemption. Now if you'll turn to, oh, this is you, right? Yeah, isn't it? No, I'm doing this one. Page 44, 45 for Vishamru.
And rise if you're able.
Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ladorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ladorotam berit olam. B'nei Israel, od hi leolam, od hi olam, od hi leolam. Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ladorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashemayim v'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ladorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ladorotam berit olam.
And if you would remain standing, this brings us to our standing prayer, the Amidah, which begins on page 46 and continues through page 61. This is your opportunity to read the words in Hebrew in the Siddur, read the words in English. There are some lovely readings, or just communicate with God right now with the words in your heart.
We're going to go out
And
here
we'll
and
begin with the
face our-
intention on page 46.
Adonai sefatatiftah ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Feel free to have a seat when your prayers are concluded.
We have sort of a multiple different things going on. I don't know about the video though. So the first thing we're going to do is read a book. I think I should read the book for the kids. We're kind of punting based on our audience tonight, so bear with us. So I love the cover of this book. Isn't it cool? So it's called The Suitcase. And I guess I can just go here, huh? So some of the kids, some of the girls have heard this book, but they're going to share with you after some things from it. It's called The Suitcase. A strange animal arrived. Do you guys want to come around? Is that better? Okay. Why don't you come around over here? I know you've seen it, but it's just such a great story.
Could I sit?
Oh, how about if you guys sit down there and I'll sit on the... Okay. Yeah.
So what if like each one of us children like does multiple animals and you can do the all?
Oh, it'll be too.
Okay. Microphone fell down.
No, there's just too many pieces. Okay, and I should have this on. Okay. There you go. I see. Okay. A strange animal arrived one day. Looking dusty, tired, sad, and frightened, he was pulling a big suitcase. Yeah. Hey, hi there. What's in your suitcase? My suitcase? Well, there's a teacup. A teacup? That's a big suitcase for a little teacup. Yes, I suppose it is. But there's a table for my teacup and a wooden chair for me to sit on, too. There's a table and a chair in your suitcase? Impossible. Well, it's his suitcase. But a table and a chair, really? And there's a little kitchen and a wooden cabin where I make my tea. That's my house. It's on a hillside, surrounded by trees, and on a clear day you can see the sea. It's all there in my suitcase. But I'm sorry, I'm really very tired, very, very tired. I've been traveling for a long time and come a long way. I must have a little rest. What a strange animal. I've never seen anything like him before. Neither have I, but we really should let him sleep for a while. Well, I don't trust him. How do we know he's telling the truth? There's only one way to find out. Someone pass me a big rock. We're going to break open the suitcase and see what's inside. Maybe we should. We need to know the truth. You can't do that. It's not ours. Bunny's right. In no time at all, the suitcase was open. And what happened? See? A broken teacup and an old photograph. He lied to us. Well, no. He did say there was a teacup. Yes, and now his suitcase is broken too. And what will he think of us? Meanwhile, the sleeping stranger dreamed about running away and hiding, about climbing over mountains and swimming across deep waters. And he had dreamed about his suitcase and all that he had inside it. When he finally woke up, he couldn't believe what the other animals had done. Not what we thought, huh? I'm sorry I broke your suitcase. We fixed it as best we could. And we've been busy while you were sleeping. We hope you like it. Thank you. It's perfect. It's perfect. There's just one tiny problem. We're going to need more teacups. Okay. Yep. And they're there, happily ever after. Aww. Okay.
So in Sunday school, we read that book and we've been talking about refugees. These girls have lived, all of them have lived in the same house that they were born into. It's very, very hard for them to even understand the concept of having to flee in the middle of the night or flee because they're scared. So we've tried as best we could to have discussions on what that might feel like. And we saw a video where a little girl had to flee with her mom, and just so quickly all she could take was her backpack. So the girls have each drawn a picture and written what they would take in their suitcase if they were refugees, in an effort to sort of help them understand the refugee crisis. So you can just, Hannah, why don't you start, sweetie, and share yours? You can share the writing or you can say it in your words.
If I ever had to flee, if I ever needed to flee my home, I would bring my stuffy, my locket, my computer, our photograph, our cats, and our cat's toy. The end. Hannah.
Okay, Ava, what would you bring?
If I ever had to leave my home, I'd bring my tablet, 2 dragons, and my dinosaur, and my iPad, and my computer, and my bunny.
I would take a picture of my house and my family. I would also bring my mom's phone number so once I'm there I could call my mommy and make sure that she's okay. I would also bring a blanket so I don't get cold.
Ari, what would you bring?
I had to flee my home. I would bring my 7 unicorns and my cat, and my dollies, and my well, I have a toy that is Olaf. I'll bring my headphones with my iPad so I can listen to whatever I want.
We have a little video. I think it's about 7 minutes. I'm hoping it's not too long for the kids. So we'll just go with it and see what happens whenever you guys are ready. You can go around if you want to see it.
Esteemed rabbis, dear congregations, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rafael Marquez. I'm the Senior Vice President of Programs at HIAS, the Global Jewish Refugee Agency. And it is an honor for me to address you today as part of Refugee Shabbat, the global Shabbat in which we try to shed a light and attention towards the global refugee crisis, and which we hope will also bring not only the severity of the crisis to everyone's minds, but also provide an opportunity to showcase the resilience of refugees and their strength as they struggle to find a safe place to call home. Indeed, the moment we are in now is a challenging one. Over the last year, in which we also commemorated the 70th anniversary of the UN's Geneva Refugee Convention, we saw the number of displaced people rise to over 84 million, the highest number ever. We witnessed a continued mass migration out of Venezuela, new displacements due to conflicts such as in Colombia or Ethiopia, and also the rising number of people seeking safety due to climate change-related phenomena. The evacuation and migration out of Afghanistan was one that made a lot of headlines here in the US and worldwide, and many of the evacuated people are now here in the US in search of homes. But other displaced people around the world, including Afghans, continue to seek out safety, often also as internally displaced people within their own countries. On today's Shabbat, we will read Parashat Kudei, and by this we will conclude the book of Exodus. The exodus of 84 million people is yet to end, and on average, it will take more than a decade until they finally reach a place they call home, be it through integration, safe voluntary return, or resettlement. Hayes has been working in Chad with refugees from Darfur for almost 20 years now, simply because no solution has been found for them, as we continue to see influxes of Darfuris into Chad on a regular basis. COVID has further exacerbated the needs of refugees, also because its cynical instrumentalization by countries, leading to the lack of the most basic right, the right to seek asylum. In Greece, Hayes works with refugees from all over the world. Many arrived by crossing by boat. Unfortunately, over 20,000 lives have been lost in the Mediterranean over the last 7 years. But together with this dire picture of tragedy and never-ending needs, I would also like to use this opportunity to speak about where we can find hope. As we read in this week's parasha, in the last verses, we read about how God accompanies the people of Israel while they wander through the desert in the form of a cloud. And so with the numbers of refugees as high as never before, we need all hands on deck, and we need to provide this cloud to refugees, to protect them and to guide them. God went before them by day with a pillar of cloud to guide them along the way. Our faith and our communities provide so much potential to do the same. And it is exactly these hands on deck that provide so much space for hope. Despite the dark times we find ourselves in, communities are rising to the moment all over the world. In the US, communities are mobilizing to welcome Afghan newcomers through co-sponsorship with refugee agencies, as well as with a brand new private sponsorship model called Sponsor Circles. Hayes's Welcome Circles project has been in touch with hundreds of congregations in the US, and dozens have already applied. In Canada, Jewish communities are also mobilizing their private sponsorship networks to provide safe homes to refugees in need, whether they are from Afghanistan or other countries around the world. Across Europe, Jewish communities are mobilizing to support newly arriving asylum seekers through advocacy and direct action, and they are speaking up for humane border policies, both through land crossings, like the Poland-Belarus border, and sea crossings, like Greece, the Central Mediterranean, and the English Channel. So let's take this moment to also pause and truly appreciate this massive Jewish movement in support of refugees and asylum seekers. It's so easy to focus on the need that we forget to celebrate our successes, and I myself am guilty as charged. But we should take this moment to reflect on how far we've come and refill our cup before rededicating ourselves to this work. Jewish communities and faith-based communities in general are a vital part of responding to humanitarian crises and displacement. COVID has provided an example of how communities across the world filled the void that was created by access constraints or overwhelmed social security structures. So I also want to use this opportunity to thank each one of you, as individuals and as congregations, for the incredible work and support in our mutual effort of Tikkun Olam. Within those efforts of Tikkun Olam that we as a congregation or organization pursue, there is yet another factor that I would like to lift up in particular, and this is the resilience of refugees and their host communities. Nothing that we would do would be possible if it was not for the immense strength and courage that we witness every day when we work with affected populations and their local host communities. The bravery to set foot and to seek asylum, the generosity to host refugees, and the courage of refugees and host communities to tell us their stories, reveal their challenges, and guiding us on how we can help in the best possible way. HIAS's teams around the world witness this resilience every day, and it is through partnership with the affected population and their active participation that our programs have bigger impact. None of our programs, from mental health activities, gender-based violence initiatives, to programs related to economic inclusion and entrepreneurship, or legal support and protection services, none of them would succeed if not for the refugees themselves and their strength. When we finish reading one of the 5 books of Moses, as we will do tomorrow, we rejoice in singing the words Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and we will strengthen each other. When communities around the globe do so tomorrow, at the end of the Torah reading, let us use this time to also think about the resilience of refugees and remember those that are still on their journey, far from reaching the end of their exodus, but full of strength and enabling us provide support and continue this work. Together with them, the displaced people, and together with you, the congregations and communities that stand at our side to welcome the stranger and to protect the refugee. Shabbat Shalom ve'mevorach ve'mo'il. May you all have a blessed, peaceful, and meaningful Refugee Shabbat.
Right. Thank you, Jerome. So I just have a few words. I'm going to try to go fast. This video was recorded before the war in Ukraine began. Now over, as we probably know, 1 million Ukrainians have already fled into neighboring countries, and there's over 1 million more that remain displaced within the country. So this tremendous exodus of Ukrainian citizens being added to those that are still needing help in Afghanistan and elsewhere around the world has created an unprecedented time for refugee resettlement, not only in neighboring countries, but here in the U.S. So what can we do? There's a quote by Arthur Ashe that an old tennis pro that us older folks probably know, that came across to me recently. And I found it helpful in continuing to work on issues that are new to me and stuff that are challenging because I perceive that I don't have the right skills. And the quote is, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So it is with that in mind that I forge ahead, and I'm going to give you what I think is the best things that we can do. First, most importantly, go to the HIAS website. I urge you to go to the HIAS website and read stuff they have on refugees. They are a great organization. If you subscribe to their newsletter, they'll keep you up to date. This info that I received on Ukraine was just yesterday. And also, they do things like advocate. So if you are, they'll send you a letter, say send this to your congressperson, you do a few clicks and it's off and away. And that is to help the congresspeople know what people are interested in, what needs to be done. Second, if you're able, donate money. As with everything needs money, right? And third, if you want a hands-on, get involved experience, there is a local group that just formed called Slow for Home that is resettling refugees in our SLO communities. It's a community-wide nonprofit. interfaith group of people that are coming together to bring refugees here. I'm on the steering committee and of this group, and we're actively seeking additional volunteers, supporters, and everything else you can think of. We'll be welcoming our first family later this month. There's still much work to do. We are currently working and setting up housing and all the items needed for a family in a home, like furniture, kitchen items, bedding, towels. We're working on connecting our schools for children that will need to go to school. We'll need drivers to transport family members to various appointments, to job interviews, to the grocery store. All that it takes to adjust to living here. And as always, Slow for Home would welcome monetary donations to help purchase some of these items as well. As the Marcus on the video just said, it's faith-based communities in general that are stepping up to do this work, resettling refugees and asylum seekers, and that faith communities are a vital part of the work. He voiced his appreciation of the mass Jewish movement, he called it, that occurred last year and is still occurring to welcome the stranger coming into our communities. I hope that we at COT can be part of contributing to this massive, this massive Jewish movement, be it through HIAS or Slow for Home. I have Slow for Home flyers with me tonight. If you have any interest, please take one. Check out the website of Slow for Home, but also HIAS. You can talk with me or email me. But most importantly, I encourage you to get involved. And if you find this idea challenging, remember the words of Arthur Ashe. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Okay. If you will turn to page 253 for the Misha Barak. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these members of our community: Robin Cohen, Diana Heller, Rob Hirsch, Leslie Kasanoff, Penina Kolakant, Barbara and Chip Kurtzman, Kit Levine, Sharon Maslow, Rick Moss, Dave Podolsky, Margaret Schmidt, Elliot Schwartz, Cheryl Shalhoub, John Sitters, Melanie Spielman, Ellen and Michael Weingarten, John Wheaton, Paul Gans. And if you have is there any other names that we'd like to add tonight? And I'd like to add the people of Ukraine tonight as well. Send them all comfort and relief speedily in our days, and grant them a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit. Blessed are you, source of life, who helps us to bring light where there is darkness and healing where there is brokenness. Avotenu, Mekor Abraham, Liaimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberak imotenu mechor A prayer for Ukraine. This is a partial of a reading from Alden Solovi. God of all, protector and redeemer, watch over the people of the Ukraine as their land is invaded once again and war returns. Grant them safety and security, independence, freedom, and peace. Watch over the soldiers forced into combat to defend the nation and to protect their land and their homes. God of peace, bring a speedy end to this conflict and full restoration of the sovereignty to Ukraine. Bring an end to all war, conflict, and strife so that your promise of peace is fulfilled. Please turn to page 282 for the Elenu. Oh, sorry, yes, please stand. Elenu l'shabach l'adon hako l'teikenu l'yokser breshi shalo asanu kekeye haratzot velo samanu kamishmekot hadama shalo sam kaukenu kahem vego rolenu kekol hamona vanaknu horim umishtakavim umodim lifnei melech malkei hamlakim hakadosh baruch hu.
The top of page 284.
Noten shamayim ve'yoser haaretz umoshavi karam b'shamayim imaho ushkinatu zo begohem emorim hu Eloheinu ein ho emet malkeinu efes ulato kakatu v'torato v'yadat ha'chayom v'hashavoto elivaveka ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim ima'o ve'yo ha'aretz mitakat ein o.
And in the middle of page 287.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shamo echad.
Amelia and Hannah, let's close the ark. Can you close? Thank you, good job. And you may be seated. Couple quick announcements. We have some birthdays this week. Jane Sachs is celebrating her birthday tomorrow, March 5th. We have 3 people celebrating on Tuesday, March 8th. Arlene McDonald, Nathan Trinidad, and Al Solish. And Michelle Robles is celebrating her birthday on March 9th. We don't have any anniversaries this week. We wish you all a happy birthday. As always, Kira, thank you so much. Jerome, thank you also for helping us with video tonight. And Cindy, thank you so much. We always sound better when you're here. So we're glad you were here. This brings us to page 289. The light of life is a finite flame like the Shabbat candles. Life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. grandfather of Rick Moss, Faye Gans, grandmother of Jackie Ramsdell, Florence Nager of blessed memory, Edward Levine, husband of Burl Levine, Jan Carcel, wife of Richard Carcel, Mildred Day, mother of Susan Ariner, and Nina Ruffino, friend of Michelle and David Robles. And we remember Barry Berman, cousin of Burl Levine, who passed away this month. And we take into our hearts all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And Burl, would you like to come up and light the Yortzeit candle in remembrance of your husband? And you'll find the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Please rise if you're able. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemay Rabbah, Bialma Dibra, Kirute, Bialmi, Malhute, Bahayehon, Ugyomehon, Uhaye, Dekol, Beit Yisrael, Bagam, Gizon, Ari, Vimaru, Amen. Yeheshon, Rabba, Nevar, Leolam, Omed, Omed, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitbar, Yitman, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yithalel, Yithalal, Shemay, Yusha, Yiti, Leolam, Yitol, Berhata, Shirta, Tushbahata, V'Nehamata, Damir Ram, Yalma, Yivaru, Amen. Yeheshon, Rabba, Minshamaya, Ba'anim, Aleinu, Ve'alkol, Yisrael, Yimaru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Enama, Huyaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'alkol, Yisrael, Yimaru, Amen. And you may be seated. We're going to close tonight with a poem that was written by a 20-year-old young man. Rick's going to give you a copy quickly. While he's passing them out, I'll just read to you about this young man, Jason Fotso. He's from Maple Grove, which is near Minneapolis, and he's written poetry and performed spoken word since high school, speaking consciously about the world around him. 20 years old, he's a junior at Duke University, where he studies public policy. He believes deeply in the capacity of art and digital media to share our stories, open our hearts, and inspire our future. In his free time, Jason loves to read, listen, laugh, create, and daydream. So we're going to do this twice, and I'm going to read. Feel free to read with me, and we're going to follow the punctuation, reading from the top to the bottom, and ignore the spacing. Okay? So if you'd like to join me. Turn away the refugees. We will not open up our homes and hearts for children. Close our doors on the weak. Only fear behind our love can put strength in our hands. We cannot let them bleed into our nation. They share the blood of our enemies. Our own are endangered by the refugees. We have forgotten the words that the Statue of Liberty shines. In this darkest hour, terror stands stronger than our people of power. This fear conquers the home of the brave. Now you're thinking, well, that's not a very nice message, and after we've just been speaking about refugees. Look at what Jason did. Now we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to use the spacing and kind of try to ignore the punctuation. The home of the brave conquers fear. This power of our people stands strong. refugees are endangered by our own enemy. They share the blood of our nation. We cannot let them bleed into our hands. Strength in our love can put our fear behind. Only the weak close doors on the children. For our homes and our hearts open up. We will not turn away the refugees. Should we do it one more time? Top to bottom. Now that you kind of get the idea. Turn away from the refugees. We will not open up our homes and hearts for children. Close our doors on the weak. Only fear behind our love can put strength in our hands. We cannot let them bleed into our nation. They share the blood of our enemy. Our own are endangered by the refugees. We have forgotten the words that the Statue of Liberty shines. In this darkest than our people of power. This fear conquers the home of the brave. The home of the brave conquers fear. This power of our people stands stronger than terror. In the darkest hour, the Statue of Liberty shines, the words that we have forgotten. The refugees are endangered by our own enemy. They share the blood of our nation. We cannot let them bleed into our hands. Strength in our love can put our fear behind. Only the weak close our doors on children. For our homes and hearts open up. We will not turn away the refugees. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful week. Thank you to our